in the last 30 minutes, it has broke from Jacob Steinbeck, one of the most respected transfers journalists out there, that Man United are planning a big money move this summer for Declan Rice. Arsenal have put a lot of groundwork in, but now face competition from United for the West Ham midfielder. From your point of view, Igal, how important is it that you land Declan Rice and get it over the line?
Honestly, if we just need to get our number one targets at this point, I feel like we've been going for second targets so many times that it's key that we not only do we get Declan Rice, but we try to get him in early in the transfer window so we can move on and get some of our other business done. And I would say we need 2 midfielders in the summer. So depending on who the first one is, if it is Declan Rice, we'll have to see how much we're gonna spend on the next one. But if we don't get Declan Rice, I still trust the club to have a succession plan. But I would say Declan Rice is a key part of our summer transfer window, and I don't want to miss out, similar to Modric and these other guys. So I would say he's right up there, at the top of the list.
And what's your view on the £120 million total price for the player? Ben Jacobs played that down today, said it could be more near a 90. But if you had to pay 120 for him, as a fan, would you sanction that and be happy with that amount of money being spent on Declan Rice?
The money, footballers' price tags have gone through the roof. And at this point, let's be honest, Enzo wasn't worth 120. All these guys are not really worth that much money. The reason why they're going for that much money is because because of the clubs that's selling, they don't necessarily need to sell. And 2, it's because of their potential. And is he going to be ever worth that type of money? I don't think so. Are we overpaying? Probably. Are we going to end up paying 120? I don't know if we will. I think we might actually try to pay like 90 mil plus Eddie Nketiah or something. Try to get it down as much as possible. And that might be something that West Ham would actually be interested in if they still want Eddie or somebody else from the squad. But yeah, I think the club is going to try their best to pay less than 100 million and maybe even a player swap if we can. And
do you think Arsenal is better, Igal, to put all their eggs in one basket and spend that and get Declan Rice, and he's the one who's going to change the look of your midfield instead of going for someone cheaper and getting another top midfielder? Because, if you get Declan Rice, you might not get the second best. You might get now someone who is a squad filler instead of getting 2 guys that will come in and change the way you look.
I think Declan Rice has the potential to be one of the best midfielders in the league. And what he's done at West Ham, if he's in a better squad, what's stopping him from improving to that level? He's still very young. He's an England international. He has everything going for him. So to pay that price, we've seen players go for players with much less quality go for way more than that. So let's be honest.
Wait, way more than 120?
No, I mean, like, we've seen players that are nowhere near their valuation go for crazy money, like Modric. Let's be honest.
But that doesn't make just because others are doing it doesn't make it a good deal for you. I do agree with you. We have seen players move and that's not their value, but we've also seen players move for their value. We've seen other teams get value for money. So paying 120 million for Rice just because Chelsea paid 100 million for Modric, or Chelsea paid 120, or United paid X amount for X player, that doesn't make sense. That's still bad.
I think it's inflation.
120 for Rice is crazy.
I think honestly, the deal is not going to be 120 at the end of the day. Yeah, I generally believe it's going to be
90 million is too much.
I think it's going to be south of 100 million. I believe come the end of the window.
But are you not worried about that what happened with Calvin Phillips, though? Like, look at Calvin Phillips. He was a superstar at Leeds, had a great season with them, and then he went to Pep Guardiola, and he didn't live up to the hype. And they paid only 50 million for him.
I think Calvin Phillips... I think Declan Rice is a much better player than Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips' issue might be fitness, if I'm not mistaken, or something else, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't actually seen people say, oh, he's regressed as a football player. It's mostly about his fitness. And I think Declan Rice is much more professional than that. He won't let himself go like Calvin Phillips.
But Igal, here's the thing. Let me ask you, so do you feel Declan Rice would have made up the difference this season? So let's say you had Declan Rice in Arsenal this season. Do you think that would have made the difference for Arsenal to winning the title, for example? Because you made the point that Declan Rice would have a monumental effect on Arsenal, which I think is crazy. I think that could have an effect, but we're not talking about peak Kante. We're not talking about peak Busquets and so forth. We're talking about a pretty decent and useful midfield constructor. He's very useful, but let's keep it a stack. 120 for Rice is crazy because 120 should be a guy who's a game changer. And also, come on, you said Enzo. I'm sorry, Enzo's a World Cup winner. There's a World Cup winner tax, which makes the 120 fully legitimate, but
There's
for
an
like a
English
Declan
and
Rice.
Premier League tax on Declan Rice, by the way, and that's just as high as the World
So
Cup tax.
no, wait, you can't say that. You can't equate an EPL tax to a World Cup tax.
1 second. I'm drawing the comparison. You don't need to go crazy on that. There is a comparison based on the fact that one, yes, he plays in Benfica and there's a World Cup tax, but also being an English player, playing for England and being a starter at West Ham, being their captain, and let's be honest, Premier League clubs not needing to actually sell to each other to generate cash. There is no reason for them to sell. They're going to try to get as much money as possible. And I understand why they're going to put a crazy price tag. I'm not going to justify the club paying 120 mil because I think anyone paying 120 mil for any player, it's going to be difficult to get the return on investment. But Declan Rice, he's a quality player and he's a very much a level raiser in our midfield. Same way Caicedo would have been a level raiser in our midfield. It adds another younger quality player so we can then move on from Granit Xhaka or Partey in this foreseeable future and have a better player.
Before you go, Agal, which one do you want him to replace? Is it Partey or is it Xhaka in your midfield?
I personally think Declan Rice can play both.
Okay, so what's your preference then?
I would personally go get either Caicedo or Latvia with a Rice in the summer.
So you're looking at Rice as the Xhaka replacement, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're looking to spend 200 million on two midfielders. Is that what you're looking for?
No. I'm looking at 90 mil for Declan Rice and another
90 mil plus a player that is worth about 25. That's what you said. 90 mil plus Nketiah. So that's money. That's an asset.
And then another six. Personally, I think Arsenal are going to probably spend close to 280 this summer. It's going to be a club record fee.
280. But you see spending that amount of money. The only way it can be justified. The only way it can be justified is if you win the league.
What?
I said the only way it can be justified is if you win the league. You've got to win something. Like,
no, that's the ambition. The ambition is to win the league.
The ambition's there, but for him to be the only way we'll sit here and be like, look, it worked, is the same way with Liverpool. And they bought Van Dijk, and everyone was like, oh my God, why'd you spend so much money? Look at the return on investment. Like, he's not directly involved with goals, assists, or anything like that, but a massive transformation to the club. Do you think Declan Rice is going to provide that? Forget how much he costs. He could cost 300 million. Do you think he's going to give that to Arsenal? Because that's what Have Hope is asking. Does Rice move the barometer? Is he the difference between? Oh, you know what? Arsenal would have won the league if they had them this year. You know.
Is he or Haaland?
I agree. I don't think Rice is the difference maker.
I think
Rice he's a good player, and that's it.
I think Rice at Arsenal, you guys will see the difference he'll make in comparison to West Ham, where West Ham, as much as they've been doing well over the last couple of years, the level of the midfield will raise. Having Declan Rice in that midfield.
No. But Igal, you have to be specific. What difference does he make? Be specific. So when he comes, we win the title. We win this trophy. Like, what is the difference between without Rice and with Rice?
It's a strength in depth. It's as if we don't lose. Imagine we have the midfield we have right now, and we add Declan Rice. You now have somebody who can play in the Xhaka role when Xhaka's out. You have somebody who can also play. You have somebody who can also play for Partey, who's not been as reliable, and it raises the ceiling of this team, having another young player coming into that midfield to raise it to another level. If you want to talk about, one second before you guys make me scramble. If you want to get into the granular details, let's be honest. Not only is he a great box-to-box midfielder, but he's one of the best midfielders to win the ball back in the midfield, and he'll definitely help us with our defensive attributes and our attacking attributes. Overall, he's a massive improvement on our midfield, and he would be basically replacing Mohamed El Neni.
I hear you, Agal. Does he improve you? Yes. Nobody's disputing that. He improves you 110%. But just because a player improves you doesn't mean he is the right answer. Because the question Have Hope asked is he the difference between Arsenal winning a trophy or not winning a trophy? No, but we don't know. But we're having a conversation. No, we don't know, but we're having the conversation right now.
I can give you my reasons, but at the end of the day, I can't. That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
No. But Igal is an example. If I went and told you Prime Messi comes to Arsenal, he's the difference maker between Arsenal winning or not. If I told you Prime Suarez comes to Arsenal, he's the there's a strong argument to say Arsenal win the league. Does Rice move the needle like that?
I think regardless what we, regardless of who we bring in. Once again, listen to what I'm saying.
Boris Johnson here.
Listen to what I'm saying. Regardless of
Igal, I would vote for you. Igal, I am voting for you, bro. You have my vote.
If it's Declan Rice, if it's Caicedo, if it's Latvia, two midfielders of quality coming into this team push us on to guarantee challenge again and win and try to win the league. Declan Rice, what he does, he not only brings us to that level, but he secures us for the next 10 years in that midfield.
10
That's
years.
what he does.
Do you know what I would say?
120 M's still.
You know what I would say this though? Like, I want Declan Rice at Man United. I'm really happy that we're going in for him. I'm not scared of being rejected for Arsenal because it really won't bother me. But I'd like him at Man United. But if we do bring in Kim, a Harry Kane, and a Declan through our core, that will move the needle for Man United. That will push us. I don't think we'll win the league year 2 under Ten Hag, but will push us into a title race because you suddenly become an exponentially better and stronger side through doing that. So I hope it's true that Man United are looking for him. The question I've got for you all before we get onto the action this weekend, if Man United and Arsenal bid, say 100 million each, where does Declan Rice go in your opinion, Mo?
It's a very awkward question because we keep asking this question, and I think with the ownership change, I think he would go Man United, especially if Arsenal don't win the league. If Arsenal win the league, he will definitely, without thinking, he will go to Arsenal. But just because of that dip in form, and if Man United make the Champions League, if you don't make the Champions League, I don't think he would even consider going to Man United, to be honest. But I think he would go to Man United, especially with the news about the change of ownership. It's a promising project, and I think because he knows that he would go and be an integral part of a new Man United that probably will challenge for titles. I think I would back Man United to challenge for titles more than Arsenal, to be honest.
I disagree with you there. I think he would go Arsenal. He's a London lad. Lives in London.
Oh, you put it this way, that's different. Yeah. I'm not talking about you're not putting the London in.
Also, as well, he's got good friends. He's good friends with a lot of the English players. So, like your Sakas, Nketiah played in the under-21s with him. So he's got that connection as well. Smith Rowe. I think it probably makes more sense. Arteta, the younger manager, probably sees more of the Arsenal, resurgence and what they got going on there. Probably make more sense for him to go Arsenal, in my opinion.
You give personal reasons, Patrick, but project-wise, footballing-wise,
reasons also.
But there's a footballing reason there.
Arsenal's project at this moment in time,
100%.
just coming off a title challenge is a little bit more of an exciting project. They're both exciting.
But you don't see this is the pinnacle of the Arsenal project. You don't see this is it. This is the top of the mountain.
He's the man to take them over to move the needle, man.
So this is it.
I'm sorry.
So you think flawless based on Igala's talk? Yes.
No. Elaborate. What do you mean this is it? Do you think this is
like I'm
Hey, Mo, you pissed him off.
No, but like elaborate. What do you mean this is the ceiling? Because like to say ceiling, like, that this is the best the team can get.
It's not bad.
Clearly there's nowhere near
the ceiling. You ask me a question.
Let Mo go. Let him answer. Go on.
You ask me a question. I just think. I just think that probably, this is your challenging for the title this year was it. This is your chance. This was your chance in winning the title, and you dropped the ball. Like, I think maybe going forward, I think it's other.
How dare you?
I don't know what I swear, Igal, I'm not a banter guy. I just feel that
really backs it up.
Oh man!
Listen, guys, you're gonna piss him off on me.
Listen, I honestly
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Arsenal will prove me wrong.
I think we can dispute who has the more ambitious project, but at the end of the day, it's gonna show based on who goes harder in the transfer window to try to bridge that gap. Right? The reality is we've done a lot of damage in the Premier League this season. To say that this is the ceiling with the youngest squad in the league, with the performances that we played, the way that we performed, I don't think that's a fair analysis of what we've been doing this season. To say, oh, it's a one season wonder, or next year we're gonna fall off, that's crazy to me. Especially if we improve our squad, bring in better players as we're planning to do. So I think
you never
Declan
know,
Rice,
bro.
I think if you're gonna say, I think if we're gonna, we can't read Declan Rice's mind, but the fact that Arsenal have been speaking to him consistently, and we're hearing reports that he's destined to go to Arsenal. We're hearing Jamie Carragher talking about Declan Rice to Arsenal seems like more than just paper talk. We're hearing about all these different things constantly about Declan Rice to Arsenal. Those things have legs. And as much as I know we've seen all the things with Jude Bellingham to Liverpool and these things can change.
I've experienced it,
I
bro.
agree that they can change.
Too early, man.
I agree that they can change.
Drink it, man.
One second. I agree things can change, but at this moment in time, it does seem like Declan Rice would probably choose Arsenal based on the fact that he's been having the groundworks to get it sorted.
I was responding to what Terry said. Terry said specific things. Terry said, we're adding Kim Min-jae, we're adding Harry Kane. If you're going to Declan Rice and telling Declan Rice, you're the guy who's going to come and change Arsenal, but you go to Declan Rice and say, you are coming to Man United on top of Harry Kane, on top of Kim Min-jae, and a change of ownership, he's going to look at the two projects and think, maybe I would go to Man United to play next to Casemiro.
I look at it this way. I think Arsenal are the front runners for him. I also say don't write Chelsea off. We know what Todd Bowley's like. Don't write Chelsea off in this race. Absolutely.
No, absolutely. Declan Rice himself would write Chelsea off.
No, mate, listen, probably he wants Champions League football, but
he wants the ambition to win.
I get that, but I would just, again, I don't think Chelsea. I just say Chelsea are not a front runner, but I wouldn't completely write them off as zero chance because football is a funny old game. Man United can convince him to come. It's just, I think Arsenal are too far down. Arsenal not to sign him now would be massive L. He agreed personal terms with you, albeit in principle, like 3 months ago. You've got to get this deal done, Arsenal. It's massive for you. The super chat here.